Hello everybody, welcome to Word Shard.
Hello friends, because we have already done The Merchant of Venice Act 1, Scene 2 and Scene 3, we are trying to solve some important questions from the first scene. After we finish it, we will move to the second scene and then we will move on to the third, and soon we will start with Act 2. The Merchant of Venice, Act 1, Scene 1. Let's see if you can answer the questions. Reference 1. Believe me, sir, had I such venture forth, the better part of my affections would be with my hopes abroad. I should be still plucking the grass to know where sits the wind. I already told you that this part is very important. Plucking the grass, the reason why that person is plucking the grass. Why does he talk about the holy edifice? Why does he talk about the sand dunes? Okay, so, sorry, sandy hourglass. Why does he talk about them? Those are very important. What is the first question you see over here? Why would Salarino pluck grass? Okay, one more thing is that you may be asked who said these words to whom and all that. Where is Antonio and his friends speaking to one another? These questions may come, but these are very direct questions. You can answer them easily. So we will start with the difficult ones. Why would Salarino pluck grass? Salarino would pluck the grass and toss the blades. Blades, what do you mean by blades? Blades, you have seen grasses. They have these long, long blades like thing. So that is why they are called the blades of the grass. So he used to toss the blades into the air to see in which direction the wind was blowing. He used to tear the grass from the ground and throw it in the air to see in which direction the wind was blowing. You can see if a strong wind is blowing and you try to throw some grasses in a particular direction, you can understand in which direction the wind is blowing. Why does he do this? Because he wishes to see which direction the wind is blowing so that he can understand that whether it is a favorable direction for his ships. Previously, they did not have all those big engines that we see in the ship. They used to use the wind for the ship to move. I have already explained you in my video, so you can check it from there. We would discuss the questions directly. He would always have worried if his ships had set sail and were at risk of nature's mood. So nature's mood always changes. Once it is very rainy, sometimes it is raining heavily, sometimes it is very sunny, sometimes it is windy. So its mood changes, shifts very easily. So he will always worry about his ships whether they are safe on the sea. What else would make him worry when Salarino blew? Now, this question will not come like this because this will be a 4 to 5 mark question, and 4 marks question will not come like this. It can be broken into small, small parts. For example, you may be asked, what does he talk about? Why does he talk about the hot soup? So in that case, you will write the first part. When Salarino blew on his hot soup, he would start worrying about the harm a strong wind could cause to his ship. When he blew on his soup bowl, on the hot soup bowl, there are certain ripples created on the bowl. So he would constantly think about the harm that the wind could cause to the ship on the sea. So every time he looked at the hourglass, the sand would remind him of the sandbars that could destroy his ships. So this can be a separate question altogether. When he saw the sandy hourglass, what did he think? He thought about the sandbars, the harm it could cause to his ships. Even going to the church. Now you may be asked what is a holy edifice? Why is it relevant over here? Then you will write this part that when we go to the church, we see the edifice. Okay, so seeing those edifices made of stone, he would immediately think about the dangerous rocks. You have seen this in Titanic. You saw, no? It hit that enormous rock and it caused an extreme damage to the ship. So that could break the ship into pieces, causing it enormous loss. So now we'll move to the third question. In spite of the danger to his ships, why is Antonio not worried about his financial security? Why is Antonio still telling his friends, no, I am not worried about my ships? This is because Antonio is a very rich merchant. He has a number of ships, and that is why those ships have set sail to different directions. You may be asked in which all directions these ships have gone, in this part, that part, in Indies, and there are a number of Mexico to Mexico. They have gone to so many places. So he has a number of ships and that have set sail to different directions. So his money was not invested in a single ship and not even to a particular place only. They have gone to different directions. It is very strange that it cannot it, there is a very less chance that all his ships would undergo shipwreck together, isn't it? So that is why his financial security was not the reason for his worry. Now we will move to the fourth question. Explain blow me to an ague. So this is very easy. I have already told you ague means when you are feverish, when you shake and when you have a lot of fever, sometimes your body shakes. That kind of thing is called ague. So blow me an ague means Salarino tries to find out the reason for Antonio's sadness. He feels his business tension was the cause. According to Salarino, he first thought that the business tension, that his ships were in the sea and that is why he was thinking about the ship. He was thinking about all that. But actually, that was not the case. According to him, if he was in Antonio's place, if he had to worry about the ships, then it would make him tremble like a man who is suffering from a high fever. When somebody has high fever, his body, there are convulsions, his body shakes. So, that kind of a situation would be his case if his ships were in the sea. But in reality, Antonio was not worried about his ships. He was overconfident. Now we'll move to the second reference. This part is important. During the teaching part, I've already told you that this two-headed Janus is very important. Questions can come from here. Who is Janus? This can be asked. It's a very direct question. You will get in the all those notes part that you have beside on the right hand side of your book. So question number 1, who is Janus? Janus is the two-headed Roman god of doors. This is the most important line that you have to mention. And obviously this one is very easy. If it is two-headed, then it will have two faces. Your two heads will have two faces. So one is frowning and the other is smiling. These are the emotions. One head looks inwards and the other looks out. So this is a Roman god who is placed in front of doors. One looks inside, one looks outside. One has a very frowning kind of appearance and another one smiles. Now, he is referred to here. What is the second part of the question? Second part is, why is he referred to in this extract? Why did he mention about Janus over here? He is referred to here to indicate that nature creates strange men just like there are strange gods. See, obviously, when you in the Indian context, in the Hindu context, we know we have Brahma. We have seen he has so many faces all around him. So that is also very strange. Normally, a human being, even a god who looks like a human being, has only one face. But in reality, we see that Lord Brahma has so many heads. So that is also a strange creation. Similarly, men or human beings also have strange natures. Say in the same situation, they behave in different ways because of different outlooks. For example, if I am angry, I behave in a particular way. Maybe I hit somebody. There can be another person who is also very angry, but he remains silent, does not behave in a rude manner. So, in the same case, people behave differently because of different outlooks, because of their different natures. So that is the reason why Antonio was sad, because Antonio was just not happy. That was his kind of behavior. Question number 2. What does Salarino tell about strange fellows framed by nature? What does he talk about the strange fellows of or the human beings who are very strange? According to Salarino, there are a few people who wrinkle their faces when they laugh. When you laugh a lot, you will see there are fine lines beside your eyes. Isn't it? Your eyes become small, just like parrot's eyes. You peep through your eyes, and then you have fine lines beside your eyes. Those are wrinkles. When you laugh a lot, those wrinkles are formed. So there are few people who laugh a lot and they laugh at anything and everything, even at the music of a bagpiper. Bagpipe is a kind of wind instrument, just like your guitar, and it is a kind of a wind instrument. And when a bagpiper is playing that bagpipe, there are people who will laugh at it. That means these people laugh at anything and everything. Some would always be grumpy. There are few people who is just opposite to these people who always laugh. They are always grumpy, they're always sad and has a sour expression. Sour expression means if you taste vinegar, that you'll have a kind of sour expression on your face. that kind of people who are always angry, sad, depressed. Even when the wise Greek general Nestor, questions can come from here also, that who is Nestor, then you have to write he is a very wise Greek general, and his reference is used over here to point out that even when such a wise general tells that the joke is laughable, then also these people with a vinegar aspect would never laugh. Okay. We'll move to the third and the last reference from here. Reference 3. I urge this childhood proof because what follows is pure innocence. Now you can understand this is the very important part. This is told by Bassanio. This type of questions can come. Who says this to whom? So Bassanio says this to Antonio. If there is more marks, you can write Bassanio, who is a very dear friend of Antonio's, says this to Antonio. Question number 2. What childhood proof does Bassanio talk about? Bassanio says that when he was in school, he used to practice shooting arrows. So when he was a small boy, he used to practice shooting arrows. So like people have different kinds of hobbies. Some like to sing, some like to dance. He used to practice shooting arrows. You know, bow and arrows. These are the bow and the arrows. So he used to practice shooting bows and arrows. If he had lost one arrow by being careless, so maybe it so have happened that while he was practicing it, he was a little bit careless and he shot one arrow and it went into a different direction and he did not see it. He was not careful about it. So what would he do then? He would shoot another in the same direction with the same amount of force and being more careful this time. Then what would happen? Then he could follow in which direction the arrow is going and then he would find the second arrow. And it often so happened that he also found the first arrow seeking the second one. So why is he saying this? That we will see in the next question. This helps him to find the second arrow as well as the first. This is the childhood proof he is talking about. So this part you just write about the childhood proof. That see even when I was a child, I knew that if you shoot a second arrow in the same direction and more carefully with the same force and more carefully, then you will be able to find the second arrow as well as the first one. Now the question is, why did he say this to Antonio? This is also important. If the reference, if this part of the reference comes, or if any question comes from this part of the childhood proof, then the related question will be the third one. That why did Bassanio say this to Antonio? See, Bassanio is a spendthrift. We all know this. So first you write that Bassanio is a spendthrift. Then you write that Bassanio had already borrowed a lot of money from Antonio and he is unable to pay that money back. He spends a lot of money and he cannot pay it back to Antonio. He had taken a lump sum amount from Antonio and now he cannot pay it back. Now Bassanio wants more money. Why does Bassanio want more money? Because he wants to go to Belmont to marry Portia. Okay. So for that he requires more money. Who will give him money? His dear friend Antonio. But he just cannot. He is a bit ashamed of coming to Antonio and asking for more money when he had not yet returned the last debt. That is why he says in an indirect way that see, if you throw the arrow in the same direction again, that means if you lend me money again, then I will be more careful this time and will be able to pay you back. Okay. So how will you write it? Now he is requesting Antonio to lend him some money again so that he could go to Belmont to marry Portia. This time, just like the second arrow, he would be more careful and bring back the money Antonio will lend him again. Now Antonio will lend him money again and he will be more careful to bring the money back and pay him back. Okay. So that's all from Act 1, Scene 1. The important questions are not over. There are more important questions like Graciano's part, let me not play the fool, remember that part. That part is also very important. So maybe after we finish off with the whole Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Act 4 and Act 5, although Act 5 is not there this time. So when we finish off with everything, we'll come back with some revision questions from these parts where we could not solve this time. We will solve those questions also. So I hope you have liked my video. If you have liked it, please comment and subscribe and also share it with your friends. Thank you so much.